Hi, everybody, and welcome back to another video. Today, we are doing a dating and relationship video. Oh, here's my camera. I'm kind of not used to doing it this way, but we're doing a dating and relationship video. And if you have not seen this woman's TikTok, it's 50 parts. God bless Real Talk with Yanni for putting this all into 3 videos. This is the video that I'm going to be responding to. You guys, this woman was in a relationship with a pathological liar, and it is just it's unbelievable. Some of the things that he lied to her about and this entire twisted situation. And what I'm responding to is actually the last part where she talks about being desperate for love and wanting it to be her turn. Because I think a lot of women, if they're honest, can actually relate to this. And so I encourage you to just go listen to the full story. From Yanni's page. I think it's Yanie. And I'm just going to respond to what she learned. And this is not to attack her because if I'm being honest, you guys, I can relate to this a lot, like quite a bit. I have dated people who are pathological liars, who are narcissists. I've been a victim of this kind of abuse. And so I understand where she's coming from. It was not quite to this degree. Obviously, I didn't marry this person, but I can understand where she's coming from. And I think she makes a lot of valid points about desperation and wanting it to be your turn. And so I'm just going to comment on how our community sometimes, church community and the Black community, sometimes promotes like marriage over finding the right person. So let's take a listen.
Who the fuck did I marry?
Sorry, Kirsty.
So, the aftermath. There are some realizations I had to come to after the divorce and everything had passed. One, Legion never loved me. He never loved me. He doesn't love himself, so I know he didn't love me. Number two, he didn't even like me. He watched me get excited about things that he knew I was not going to get. And not even just the possession stuff. Like, of course, we know I was excited to be the woman whose husband is like, I'm taking my wife to London.
Yeah, I want to talk about this part because people who are pathological liars and who are narcissistic, you're a supply, right? You're a supply for them. When she says he didn't even love me because he doesn't love himself, he was doing, if you watch the series, he is buying things for her. He's saying the right things. They even got pregnant, but those are all things for him. They're not for her. And she said, she's going to say right here, I wanted to be that woman who was flown out to London by your boyfriend. And so my boyfriend bought, because we see these people who are like, my boyfriend did this for you. My husband did this for me. And wanting that fairy tale that is portrayed. But this man is doing those things kind of, but he doesn't love you. He's doing it so that he gets his supply because he was benefiting from her existence. He was benefiting from her job, her home, her desperation. So he gave her breadcrumbs and she was like, yes, I finally got what I wanted. But I can relate to that. I can relate to wanting the image of love, like wanting the optics of love, which these grand gestures that everybody wants, and wanting that so badly and being like, I get to be that woman without doing a full investigation on who this person is. And again, this is no shade to her because I've done that. I know other people who have done that where we just assume that someone has good intentions. We've ignored red flags, but they don't love you. These people don't love you. And it's not because you're not lovable. It's because, like she said, they don't love themselves. They are using you for a supply. Anybody that's available is their supply.
I was excited to be the woman whose husband was like, yeah, I bought my wife a brand new BMW X5. You have to understand, is all the jokes that we make about the BMW. It was the time and effort that he spent in taking me to dealerships and being sure to put me in the car and test drive the car and Oh, I can see you in this. I like this for you. It seems safe. It was the effort to really make me believe that he was going to get this.
And that's because, you guys, it's all a game. It's a game for them. It's a game to see how much they can get away with. I was dating a guy and it took me 3 months to figure out he didn't even have a job. He would be on like the phone all day pretending that he had a job. He didn't have a job. But it's the like they love the effort of they love the game of, okay, how dumb is she kind of thing. And that's, we're not dumb, but that's what they're doing, is like, how much can I trick her? And how much can I get her to believe that she's going to have that? That was the game. And if your one of your life goals is to get married and you want that fairy tale, you're like, yes, I found, you're not even thinking that someone with this much effort and energy would even do this kind of thing. And he was paying bills. He was doing enough to keep her at, arm's length. So it's not like she was just like bamboozled because she was dumb. It was like he was doing just enough. And that's the thing about unsafe people, is that they know what to do just enough to for you to kind of put your walls down, and then gotcha.
Just for him to fuck with me. The effort in taking me to all these homes, to see my face light up as a woman who grew up on welfare, to be able to walk into these 4 and 5 bedroom homes, knowing that he didn't have any money to buy it. Imagine if he had just been honest and said, "Hey, I like in my free time to go to open houses and just see how the other people live." Imagine if he had just said that versus wasting not only my time, but the wasting the time of the realtors who did nothing wrong. There's a level of cruelty to my ex husband that I had never experienced before. And God knows I pray I never experience it again.
Yeah, this is a very specific evil, kind of evil that exists in people. And I hate to be that person who's like cautious, super cautious, and what's the word? A little bit more hesitant, and I'm always thinking that someone is out to get me, and I don't want to be that person. But the reality is that there are people like this in the world, and you do have to have a little bit of like naivete, which I did prior. So I would have been her. Like, because I didn't even realize that this was a thing that people did. I didn't realize that this is how devious and deviant people could be until it happened to me. And of course, it wasn't this extreme, but you have to have a level of naivete. She was naive, and I want to talk about why there is a naivete to this, because we don't talk about it. We're so desperate for love. We're so desperate to tell people, she even said, "Oh, my mom was just happy I was married." I don't want to blame her parents, but how many of you guys have just been told, like, a piece of man, in so many ways, a piece of man is better than no man at all. And like, getting married is one of the utmost, it's like the best thing you can do for yourself. And because, you're at a certain age, I talked about this in one of my last videos, you get to be about 30 and people start asking you, when are you going to get married? And you start to take on their desperate energy. And when you're desperate, you don't even have the wherewithal to distinguish when someone's being a little bit off. You don't have the discernment that's needed to be like, something's not right here. And if no one has told you that this could happen, you're like, what? And if this was not something that was on your radar, then of course. So I'm so glad that she's sharing her story, because people need to know that people like this exist. They do. People like this man exist. And they don't care whose time they're wasting. And they don't care, how much money you spend. It's all about getting their needs met and their supply. And this is why discernment is so important. This is why we have to stop telling people to just get married and to not, there's no background checks being run on these people. No one's talking to their families. We have to be honest.
That's the word that comes to mind when I think of him. He is cruel to, and it wasn't just me. He did it to the ex-wife. So, do I trust? No, no. I trust the people who were in my life before him. If we were friends or if we were in a relationship or whatever, and I knew you before him, I trust you explicitly. But if you're somebody I just met, I don't trust you. I don't. There's no point in me.
I think having a healthy level of skepticism is okay. And of course, I think this is going to take her some time to get over. I think trusting, because what it is she doesn't trust herself anymore. And I can understand that. Like, you don't trust yourself anymore because you're like, how did I allow this to happen? The pain in her voice, like, how could I? And she goes, she says, like, I'm an intelligent woman. How could I let this happen? So it's really hard to trust yourself after you choose someone like this. And I can only imagine, because I dated this man for like 3 or 4 weeks before I figured out that he was a pathological liar and a narcissist and possibly had a whole woman and child on the East Coast. So I couldn't imagine doing this for a year and marrying someone and then being like, how do I trust myself to choose people, even friends? How I can't even trust myself to choose safe people. And maybe I should do a video about like things that I look for or things that I make note of. And I think it's healthy to give people years to become people that you trust. I think that's normal. I don't know, this whole like quick bestie culture and like super fast relationship culture. I don't know that it's healthy in general, because I do think that to trust someone, you need to see how they behave in certain situations. Their actions have to start lining up with their words. So yeah, I actually think it's a good thing that she's going to be a little bit more skeptical, because you shouldn't just trust people off the bat. I think there was a time where you could, but people these days have no morals. They have no morals.
Getting on here and saying and making it seem like, oh, I'm so strong, I'm so brave. I struggle big time. Because on one hand, I want to like someone. On the other hand, I'm immediately thinking, what if it's a repeat? And I'm going to be honest with y'all, I can't go through that again. I can't. Every single thing in our relationship was a lie. It took me a while to realize every single day this man lied to me. Every single day he lied to me. Every conversation he had was a lie. I will never know how much he lied to me. I'll never know. I have made my peace with it. I will never know how deep it really truly goes. I only know what I experienced, and I only know what God allowed me to see.
Yeah, I think what is going to be tough for her is, like, she's going to have to go to some therapy for this too, is coming up with some guidelines and checklists for people that you date, and just being so, like, in certain cultures, you don't go places alone with men. People run background checks before you even go on a first date with them. You don't get into these close relationships with people immediately. So, like, you're not sleeping with them, you're not inviting them over to your home. And I have to say, I had to learn that, like, hey, you don't just start inviting people. You have a healthy level of skepticism with everybody that you meet. And it doesn't mean that you have to be rude or off-putting, but you just know, like, I have these things. When I see these checklists, things checked off my list, then I know I can next level share things with you and allow you in my circle and things like that. But yeah, you're going to have to learn. And I think what's sad is, like, in our culture, really, we don't have these conversations with women. Like, okay, these are the things you need to look for. These are the things that are, like, they could be off. These are the things, we're just happy to have a man. We're just happy to get married. We just, want to be married. And that's when your desperation for marriage is more, is so strong, you are willing to be a little bit more naive. So I feel so strongly for her, and I hope that she's able to find a therapist and someone to talk to who can help her, you know, go through some steps on like, how do I trust people again? Not even just men, but just people again.
But I'm willing to bet that there's a lot I still don't know. When people say, "Oh, you dodged a bullet," like you just, and I've read a lot of the comments on this, and people have sent me a lot of the comments. And so I need to make one thing very clear. I am fully aware I dodged a bullet. I am so grateful to my God that I did not have that man's child. I'm sorry if that offends some of you, but it's the truth. I'm grateful that we didn't buy a house and that I'm not financially tied to him in any way, shape, or form. But I am also grateful for the fact that there are things about my ex husband that I discovered in terms of how he is when it comes to other women. And I'm grateful that God has kept me and protected me. That's all I'm going to say. So when I started out making this series and I made the decision to tell my story, my motive was I just want to help one person. If there is a woman out there who's like, God, I want to be married and I met this guy and something don't seem right, but maybe it's not that bad.
Girl. So like whenever someone gets married and they have a divorce, they go, "Oh, I knew there was something off." And so I want to talk about something that's probably maybe it's not relevant, but in a lot of like church culture, emotions are demonized. Feeling things are demonized. And on the one hand, marriage is idolized. So if your feelings are demonized, emotions are demonized, but marriage is idolized, and then you feel like something is off, people are like, "Oh, you're just trying to find something wrong with him." No, that was my intuition, my God-given intuition that has been suppressed, that was trying to warn me that something was off. And this is why I really have a problem with a lot of our church culture, where we don't allow, we demonize emotions and demonize feeling. And while I don't think that you should be controlled by your feelings, and I don't think you should be controlled by your emotions, emotions are information. And so to talk about them in a way where we're like, okay, if something's off, hit the pause. Hit the pause. You don't have to do this. And imagine, I know, like, I just want to get married, but something's off. But you want to be married more than you want to be right. Like that is the problem. And when you're like, I can't trust myself that something's off. And so this woman will never date someone for that long again, because now she knows her intuition was correct. And what's sad is that many women, their intuition's off, but they can't even fathom until this happens to them. Then they go, "Oh, I should have listened." Because no one's telling young women your intuition is almost always dead on. Trust your gut.
My advice is, honey, just go ahead and do your research, because I can honestly tell you, being single sucks. Okay. In my opinion, sometimes it sucks. But being married to the wrong person is a type of hell no one should have to go through. You should not have to be married to someone that does not like you. You should not have to be married to someone that doesn't even love you. And I know what that is like. I know what it's like to be told, "Hey, babe, I love you." And yet, I swear, I think that man sat back in the recliner with his WWE Championship Roman Reigns belt.
And welcome back to this U.S. Open office plan.
Miller just lobbed a message way over Jones's head using some.
And laughed his ass off at me every day. Like, damn, she really believed it. Ha 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 ha. I do. I really do think that.
And I want to say something too, because I can hear a lot of shame in her voice and shame in her body language. Like, this man just took me for a fool, and I was a fool. And like I said, nobody told you that this could happen. Nobody warned you. It is not your fault. But this is a warning to women now that this can happen. I thought, I was like, no, this is, I would know. I would know. I used to say, I would know. It's not that easy. It is not that easy. So if something even is in the least bit off, take off. Take off, and don't feel ashamed that it could happen to you. Because when you're desperate, like I said, when you're desperate for love, a lot of things seem on the up and up, and you're so focused on getting married and being in love that you don't even listen to your own rationale, your own intuition. So I can see, oh, the shame that she feels, because you can tell she's highly intuitive, she's really intelligent, but I can just see the shame and feel the shame that she feels for allowing herself to get in this situation. Because it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing, but I'm so glad that she's telling the truth, which is being single sucks. I can tell you that. I was single for 35 years. Well, I got married at 35. Being single sucks, but being married to the wrong person is worse, 100%. So I'm telling you, hold out for a good man. Like, hold out.
My radar was broken because I am an intelligent woman, and I know that I know better. And I still sometimes ask myself, how the fuck did you let this happen? How did you let this be your story? All because at the time I wanted it to be my turn. And I hoped it was my turn. And when people say, well, what do you mean by that? I just meant, we all see it, whether it's social media or real life, we all see where the woman she done been through some stuff, but she finally met someone who appreciates, loves, and respects her.
And I want to say something about this. You can have a fairy tale story. You can, because I think that's what she wanted. She wanted a fairy tale story. You can have a fairy tale story, but you got to do your research. You got to do your research. And don't let other people on social media force you to think that, oh, it's gotta happen now, because we're watching everybody else's lives and we're thinking, God, when is it my turn? God, when is it my turn? But do not rush that. Do not. Sorry, guys, I had to move. I had to move locations. We're almost done.
And it is a beautiful thing. I had hoped that when I met him, it was my turn for that. And instead of being obedient, I wanted to be right, and I wanted to do what I wanted to do. And the cost of that decision was heavy. The toll of reliving this whole scenario was heavy. It was. I'm almost surprised at how hard it was to actually finish this playlist. Not because I couldn't remember stuff. I probably remember way more details than what I actually put out. But
yeah, because she re-traumatized herself. So that's what happens when you keep retelling the story. You do re-traumatize yourself, and I thank her for that, because, you know, someone's going to learn. A lot of people are going to learn from this. But yeah, it is challenging when you have to retell it, because number one, now everybody, like, a lot of people know, right? You're getting a lot of input from people, and you're re-traumatizing yourself. Whenever you retell a traumatizing story, your nervous system actually goes through it again. And that's why a lot of therapists recommend that you say something once or twice and then don't speak of it again until it no longer brings up a reaction in you. But yeah, listen, this was traumatic. Like, she probably has a level of PTSD from this.
But it's just the fact that it's like I'm reminding myself, how did you let this happen? So, therapy is real. Therapy helps. Stella Rosa Black helps too. And yes, I will one day get to London. I will get my dark blue BMW X5 with cognac interior. Um, I believe I will get those things. Just got to them a different route. So, thank you all for being on the playlist of who.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it there because I don't want to. She curses in the title, but anyway. So I just wanted to talk, like, respond to this, and if you're someone who is older than 30 and you're like, when is it my turn? And you're just kind of like chomping at the bit to get married. This is a cautionary tale. As someone who got married at 35, wait. Just wait. Keep dating, keep getting to know people, test people, do background checks on people, have family members go check on these people. But if something seems off, that's because it is. You are not crazy. Something is amiss. Something is amiss. And it's usually the ones who are like, I'm law-abiding citizens and I'm so morally upright. Because everybody has a little devil in them. So when people are like, I'm just perfect, and the one that I'm talking about, boy, I just don't do anything. I was like, this is strange. The things that you are so upright about are weird. So that tells me that you're compensating for another area of your life. Like she said, if you watch this whole thing, he's like, I don't do, I'm so straight laced. Yeah, my God, because you got a warrant. Anyway, you guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you want to watch the whole thing, you can watch it. Here's her page right here. So you guys can go watch the whole thing. It was I'm so glad she put it all together for us. So now we can watch the whole thing. But you guys, do not rush getting married. All right, you guys, don't forget to leave a comment, like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.